Edward awoke on a cold white pillow, twisting and turning to stand upright. A woman's voice reported across the room. "Hello, I am Lucy," the young-looking long-haired woman said. "Great, father has a new pet," Edward said with a grin. "Pet?" Lucy asked. Edward thought to himself, more like lab rat. "Father has requested your assistance," she said. The women trailed off the other way he decided to go. Walking down the long tunnel, toward the elevators, Edward wondering to himself why there were no red flashing lights. Where are the screaming people? Life looked normal at CERN. He even passed a tour group. In the past CERN had received a lot of bad publicity. So in an effort of disinformation, they opened the upper levels and labs to the public. The bowels of CERN was off limits to the public for safety reasons. Once you get past the smoke and mirrors, CERN's doors turn into other doors, doors to other places. Edward stepped into the elevator. The trip down CERN elevator is one to remember, the bumps, shakes and the music. Once you hear Yellow Submarine thousands of times it begins to bother you, the music never changes. At times you're stuck in here with 10 or 15 happy physicists singing Yellow Submarine in unison in their little yellow hard hats, most of which don't even have a clue what happens down here. See, the collider is contained in a circular tunnel, with a circumference of 27 kilometers, 17 miles, at a depth ranging from 50 to 175 meters, 164 to 574 feet, underground. There's a lot of places one can hide a lab. Personally, I find it funny when so-called experts, or should I say paid experts, say that CERN has no effect on the environment or the Earth itself. The CERN collider is composed of some 9,600 supermagnets, which are 100,000 times more powerful than the gravitational pull of Earth, that fire protons around a circular track at mind-boggling speeds. A beam might rotate for up to 10 hours, traveling a distance of more than 10 billion kilometers, enough to make it to the far reaches of our solar system and back again. Traveling just below light speed, a proton in the LHC will make 11,245 circuits every second. No less amazing are the magnet's coils, which are made up of 36 twisted 15 mm strands, each strand comprised in turn of 6,000 to 9,000 single filaments, each filament possessing a diameter as small as 7 micrometers. The 27 km length of the LHC demands some 7,600 km, 4,100 miles, of cable, which amounts to about 270,000 km, 145,000 miles, of strand, more than enough to circle the Earth 6 times at the equator. Keep in mind, this type of power from the world's biggest machine could cause the world to wobble, one that would cause massive earthquakes, changes in weather patterns. Unless this power is directed into what we do. I guess Mother's heatsink worked. Well, it did here anyway. With our growing use of the super collider, we will generate extreme amounts of heat and it has to go somewhere. I guess a heat wave for all. How hot, you ask? Edward to himself. Damn, I need a break. I am beginning to feel like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Well, about as hot as conditions in the universe after the Big Bang, or more than 100,000 times the temperature at the center of the Sunday. This will be achieved, CERN says, by accelerating and colliding together two beams of heavy ions, an epic scientific event that will take place this month. So hopefully the heatsink idea will work or continue to work. But damn, it's going to get hot. We had to quickly cover up an issue when Sergio Bertolucci, former director for research and scientific computing of CERN, told a British tabloid the super collider could open otherworldly doors to another dimension for a very tiny lapse of time, mere fractions of a second. However, that may be just enough time to peer into this open door, either by getting something out of it or sending something into it. This is how I have begun to jump back and forth. This started a media frenzy, speculations grew and people looked more into more CERN, questions were asked why grandfather picked the geographic location. Many observers could not help but notice that the town in France where CERN is partially situated is called Saint-Genès-Boilly. The name Poerli comes from the Latin Apolliacum, and it is believed that in Roman times a temple existed in honor of Apollo, and the people who lived there believed that it is a gateway to the underworld. It is interesting to note that CERN is built on the same spot. This brought on a religious shitstorm for CERN. They drew a connection to a verse straight out of Revelations, which makes reference to the name Apollyon. The verse states, "To him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit. And they had a kind over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon." Or something like that. Damn, I hate these elevator trips. Edward thought to himself. Edward said jokingly, "Who was I talking to?" A voice from the back of his head echoed in. "Hello Edward, this is Alice. I was listening, I am always listening." Creepy, Edward said, "I will never get used to this." The simple grey doors begin to open with a strange creak. Father standing there tapping an old-looking folder. On the folder in black magic marker were the words, "The John Titor Agenda." "Stay paranoid, my friends. Keep the chain."